It isn't, it hasn't, it won't. Stop this nonsense.
Case closed. Are you Mike Bassett? 4-4 bloody 2?
What's good for Lincoln City at the weekend can be good for us.
Please, Lord, let there be a world we live in that Shaden Morris starts a game of football. You know, my simple mind would tell me if you put an exciting footballer into a football team, it's likely to be a little bit more exciting than if you don't put an exciting footballer in. You know, if it's unacceptable, then make it perfectly clear it's unacceptable.
Will it serve them to get the results that you want to make you feel happy about your football club by berating them and booing them?
They need our support. The one thing that we don't need to be able to blame the supporters. So let's get right behind these boys. The town will look to return to winning ways on Saturday afternoon when Doncaster Rovers are the visitors to Kenilworth Road for a game that's actually a lot more important than we thought it might have been at the start of the season. Alongside me to look ahead to the game is the Lutonian journalist James Cunliffe. Jimbo, this ship needs to turn, and it needs to turn on Saturday.
And quickly.
Quicker the better, absolutely, yes. We'll look ahead to the game and everything around it right after this intro. Hello everyone, welcome along to the latest episode of the Luton Town Supporters Trust podcast, the award-winning, longest-running Luton Town podcast, having scooped bronze in the Best Football League podcast category in the Football Content Awards. This season, the show is in association with Solid, providing opportunities, provisions and assistance so our academy can fulfil their potential. And who knows, maybe we might see some more academy products on Saturday because, well, they couldn't do any worse than last Saturday, could they? As I said prior to the intro, we are previewing Luton Town versus Doncaster Rovers, 3 p.m. Saturday afternoon. No UK TV coverage of this one, so if you've not got a ticket to the game, you're going to have to find other means to follow it. I will, of course, do an instant reaction after the game for those of you that want to keep an eye out for that. Jimbo, kind of looked at this one at the start of the season. And home to Doncaster, League 2 side last season, Luton Championship. Not an easy 3 points, but a game that you've got to be looking at winning in order for Luton to go where we want them to go. Really is a must-win game now, though, isn't it? Because not for any reason of league tables or anything like that, but peace of mind.
Yeah, I mean, what the performance and obviously the defeat did at the weekend was really raise the stakes and the pressure, really. That's not coming from my own opinion. That's just coming from the reaction, both in the ground and since. Firstly, I don't know. I don't know whether a win gets you that or whether it has to be a performance as well. Maybe they start slowly and well, maybe not lose. might even be the low bar. Listen, we've got to look at where Doncaster are in the table and how tricky they are as a team to play. Based on all the games we've played so far against the teams currently above us and how difficult they've been. Can't be going into games now thinking, is this a team we should beat? Because ultimately, you're not showing that at the moment. You have to go out and prove it. The only thing that's going to change what we've heard and seen in the hours and days since is a better reaction on the pitch, a better performance, something to hold on to.
Yeah, I mean, the reaction's important, isn't it? Because previous managers, when we've stunk the place out, and that's what we did on Saturday, let's get it right, we stunk the place out, the reaction would be strong in the next game. Everyone been talking about Nathan again over the last week. He lost games.
Can we, and this is my request to you out there, can you stop going on about Nathan Jones? It's giving I haven't got over my last relationship, and he's gone on and got a better bird. I just can't. He's not coming back. It's just pointless referring to him constantly about it. He was a good manager for what he did. He really was. I understand that you're talking about his passion in interviews, and that comes across and stuff, but he's probably a one-off there. Most managers aren't like that.
No, but what you got was you got a team that worked hard, that fought for each other, that did the basics well, that everything that we didn't do last Saturday. And
yeah, listen, if you're saying, can we have a Nathan Jones-esque team? Fine. But it usually comes when they listen to a manager speak and go, well, Nathan Jones wouldn't do that.
yeah, no, you're right. I mean, look, would it be great if a manager gave you a few sound bites to rally round? Absolutely. But like Jimbo said, they are probably only 10% of the managers in the world that do that these days. But what we do need is a Nathan Jones team reaction, because when his team's lost, you knew that the reaction was going to be strong. Now, you knew that the reaction was going to be strong because as an individual, he's quite intense, and you knew he'd be up them, if not straight after the game, then in the training leading up to the game. Matt's obviously on the outside, in public, much more placid. So now we need to see that he's got control of the dressing room, can get inside them and rally them round for a performance here. Yeah, okay, if we win the game playing as badly as we did against Wimbledon, no one's going to complain about that. But it won't answer the question of, have you got control of this ship, or are we merely just going over less choppier waters at the times, which we did against Wimbledon, we did against Peterborough, we did against Burton, or was Saturday? Well, we've said about rock bottom, God knows how many times. I don't know how many more rock bottoms we can hit, but was Saturday it, and then turn it round? So that'll be interesting. Look, this isn't an easy game. It might have looked an easy game when the fixtures come out, easier game when the fixtures come out. But they're the League Two champions. We weren't even that. We were only League Two runners-up.
No, but, now we're talking about Nathan Jones. We were the best team, according to him, in that division. So,
We weren't Accrington, but yeah, we'll let him have that. We weren't the League Two champions. They are the League Two champions. They're second in the table. We weren't second in the table, as you pointed out in the last podcast. At this stage of the season, they are going well. However, they've just surrendered a lead to Wimbledon, conceded 2 goals to Wimbledon. And if you saw Luton against Wimbledon, you'd wonder how Wimbledon ever scored 2 goals in a game. They have got Tottenham away in the Cup in midweek, which is going to be a huge occasion for them. And a come down. I love Kenilworth Road, but we've both been to Spurs Stadium. Not quite Kenilworth Road, is it? So there is a come down. So hopefully there's 2 things that we can feast on. But this is a football team that plays good football, that's confident, it's going in the right direction, got a good manager who knows how to do it. And we are going to have to play well to get anything out of this game. If we don't play well here, you can forget about anything else, because I think we'll get turned over.
No, we will. And it comes down to basics. But you talked at the very top of this episode that this is a tanker that needs turning around. Well, Luton are trying to stop a rot and try and get back to what they wanted to. Well, Doncaster on the way up, as we experienced. You can go quickly from League Two through League One to the Championship. And currently they're in a better, they're given a better tilt of it than we are, albeit that they lost. And I did note that, in his post-match interview, Grant McCann said they've now had back-to-back error-strewn displays. So, if you match 2 error-strewn teams, then it could be a goal bonanza, which will be something, at least.
Well, the way we're defending right now, Jimbo, I don't think we can do anything less, even if we wanted to. Doncaster's first visit here since that League One winning season to 2019. That was the time when Matty Blair chirped up before the game, didn't he? Ironically, with what you just said about Nathan, Doncaster were the best team in the league then, weren't they? And got short shrift when they got bashed up 4-0 by Mick Harford's Luton Town that afternoon. Scintillating afternoon of football. We were really on it that afternoon. Please, Lord, please, someone get the vibes of that game and get that in the home dressing room on Saturday, because that was a really special performance, as I say, egged on by Blair, who we obviously had issues with at York prior to that. So it's been a while since we played them, so we don't really know a great deal about them. We know they've got Billy Sharp up front. He scores goals here, there and everywhere, so we'll have to keep an eye on him. You wouldn't have thought he's going to run away from us. I mean, the geezer must be 40 if he's a day, but, James Collins was never going to run away from us, but he was still a bloody potent figure on Saturday in most of what Lincoln did right.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to outpace you or anything, but he's a seasoned campaign, a bit of a warhorse. He'll bully defenders if you let them, but if he's not going to score goals, they've got Owen Bailey, who's scored 6 already.
From midfield as well, yeah.
So that is someone to really look out for. We've got anyone to score 6 goals so far. I'm struggling to think if we've scored 6 at all.
Yeah, I mean, our leading scorers 2, isn't it? Jordan Clark and Lassie Nordos. And one of those obviously was against Barnet in the cup. We've definitely got to watch out for him, because we're not the best when it comes to tracking midfield runners either, are we? You would imagine that's Saville's job.
And his goal was determined, the sort of passion and fight that you really want to see from a corner. It was, we saw that. We saw a similar goal from Mads Anderson actually for his goal earlier in the season. But yeah, I mean, 6 goals already is pretty impressive for a midfield player, and that is one of the areas obviously that we've been lacking.
Yep, it is. Going through the statistics, they're second in the league for winning possession in the final third. We're going to get pressed on Saturday. I don't necessarily see that as a bad thing. I would imagine, surely we're not brain dead enough to not play one of the 2 tall centre forwards so that we can break this press in one pass, but time will tell, and we'll come on to the team sheet in a minute, because I don't think there'll be much focus on a team sheet ever as there will be on Saturday's one. But we're going to be pressed, so we have to show. I don't even know if we've got it, to be honest, Jimbo. But if we have, we've got to show some composure on Saturday.
We have, and one thing that you could probably try and attack, and I took these from the Doncaster Free Press newspaper. They did their roundup ratings. They said of the goalkeeper Timothy Letatula that he produced another high-profile gaffe, which suggests he's not particularly confident. Now, I did watch the highlights, and the gaffe they're talking about is for the second goal, which was a pretty poor clearance, but then Doncaster had lots of time to try and stop that going in, and the strike in the end was a pretty good one. So, I mean, if that's the extent of his gaffes, then I'd like to see more concrete proof of them, but that potentially is one area you could look at. But then again, we saw that in the last home game, didn't we, against Plymouth, where their goalkeeper looked shocking, and yet he's the only one that pulled off a pretty good save from Makossa at the end. So that doesn't always translate into how we want it to, but I'm just highlighting it.
Yeah, no, fair enough. On loan from Hull, that goalkeeper. It'll be interesting to see how many changes they make Wednesday. We're recording this before that game. We need to get this chopped up and out to you and everything else. So it's a bit of a shame that game is later on in the week. We might have known a little bit more. I'm guessing they're not making too many changes when they go to Tottenham, though, because that's got the capabilities of turning into a right old hiding, and no one wants one of them. So hopefully it's a wet and windy and horrible night, and they've got a few tired legs coming here on Saturday, and we can take advantage of that. That's it for Doncaster, because this preview really does need to focus on Luton. And well, it's 1:45, Jimbo, isn't it? It's what it's all about. I'll be in the bar that they're putting up outside the Kenilworth end, which if you've not visited it, they're doing really good things actually. Lots of good beers in there. I think they were trying to get a big screen in there to show the early game of the football as well, so that get a bit of camaraderie. And I think they usually put a couple of players up for photos and shirt signings and all of that sort of thing. Obviously the injured ones, not the ones that are just about to go out onto the football pitch.
Yeah, and I can't walk through that concourse without getting in the way of some kid trying to take a penalty through a hoop. So the kids...
Did they score him?
I don't know. I was just trying to get out of the way of them, but I'm just saying.
Well, next time you do, tap the kid on the shoulder and ask him if he can play right back. And if he says yes, pick him up, take him in with you and stick him at right back, because surely, this is the game that we play a back four from the very start.
Well, you'd hope so. Fingers crossed. I can't imagine the uproar in that bar that you're going to be in if it isn't.
Well, I've put that. I suspect that bar won't empty as quickly as they want it to if it isn't, because I think we're all done with this back five now, aren't we? We're done with this back five. Even if Shaden Morris played right wing back, we're done with this back five because they're still going to get penned back. This is a good team. I've mentioned it before. When we can get wingers into their half of the pitch, we look good. And when they're in our half of the pitch, we look bad. And they're going to push these wingers back if they're wingers with a defensive responsibility.
For me, I don't want them defending because I'm not.
Well, they don't want to
because
defend,
they don't
do
want
they?
to defend, and our defenders can't defend at the moment. Or judging on the last game, so why you're asking two wingers, flyers, to try and defend is beyond me. My case that I put out in the previous podcast for that forward at back, that even if it isn't perfect, you've still got Cohen Bramall, who should now be up to speed or can at least play a decent percentage of the game from the start. He is a left back. He's said that himself, but he doesn't mind trying to expand and play left wing back. But seems we're not advocating for wing backs, put him as a left back where he plays, then it's just the right back situation. Now, if you want to make Nigel Longwaite the right back, then I've no problem with that because he is a defender. You're telling him to defend, and you're going to presumably have, well, we'll get to them in a minute, but presumably the one man that I want ahead of him that he can pass the ball to and can cause the damage. No problem with that. He's a defender. What he isn't is a right wing back or a left wing back or a wing back of any description. We've seen that. It doesn't work. Stop doing it.
Case closed. Don't really need to. We can end it right here, can't we? To be fair, yeah. Look, back four. You can play a back four. You can. Is it going to be ideal? Possibly not. But until we try, we don't know, do we? And that's the overriding annoyance with the Luton fans. We're assuming those that pick the team are assuming it won't be any good, rather than seeing if it's any good. Look, Bramall can play left back. You can have a centre back pairing if he's all in the good books of Anderson and Makosso, and then, like you say, Longwaite at right back. And then when Adoffin's fit, he can play right back, and you bring Longwaite into the centre.
Or Ruel Walters.
Or Ruel Walters, yeah.
It's going to be a while, but
that's fine. And even Izzy Jones further down the line than that, and that's fine.
The wing back scenario, in fact, is only really for Izzy Jones at this stage, isn't it? It would have been Izzy Jones and Doughty if they're both there. They could both play that role. That's going to be a long way off. And there's no point trying to fit these square pegs in round holes that don't work. If they had shown any sort of signs of half working or getting there, work in progress, and it isn't. It hasn't. It won't. Stop this nonsense.
You've got all the sound bites for the start of this podcast already, haven't you? It's if you haven't, crikey, might be more to follow. Saville's obviously the holding midfielder, isn't he? Are you Mike Bassett? 4-4 bloody 2?
What's good for Lincoln City at the weekend can be good for us. Why not? If we are talking about going back to basics, that is the most basic formation that anyone ever starts with. If we're talking players that are out of confidence or maybe not taking on the instructions or carrying them out as they are, get it back to the basics. I don't think anyone's going to have a problem with that. What they're going to have a problem with is more of the same.
Yeah, I agree. I've said it on previous podcasts, Jim, but I don't really care in what situation the six in front of them are lined up in. I think Doncaster are 4-2-3-1, so it would make sense to go 4-2-3-1 so that you're not overloaded somewhere, in which case you can have Saville and for the purposes of this game only Clark alongside him with someone in front of them, whether that's an attacking midfielder in Richards or Nelson, or whether that's a sort of deeper line forward in Wells. Again, I don't really care. And then at the sides, you're going to have Millie Ali. You're going to have, please, Lord, let there be a world we live in that Shaden Morris starts a game of football on Saturday. If it doesn't, you definitely, as I said it before, you're definitely going to have apathy and despair.
You can't have Shaden Morris coming on for a total of 60 minutes across 2 games, 30-minute cameos in both, and being the best player, and then not think that, well, maybe we should play our best player from the beginning. If he can't do, same with Bramall, if he can't do a full 90, I do not care. I'd rather him do 70 and come off, 60 and come off. Let him do some damage there instead of struggling and trying to chase a game. Let's try and take a game to another team first. Put Shaden Morris in the team. Everybody wants to see it. He has done everything right to get into that team. There's no excuses for it now.
You know, I agree. I think one of the things that did annoy me about Matt's interview on Saturday was how we're worried about what Lincoln did from the goalkeeper. How about imposing ourselves on them?
Yeah.
You know, if we've got players further up the pitch, then the geezer that the goalkeeper was always aiming at ain't going to be as far down the pitch, is he? You know, I keep on saying it's a numbers game. Impose ourselves on them. We're further up the pitch. They're further away from our goal. In theory, they shouldn't score the further away from our goal that they are. And in theory, the more we should score, the closer to their goal they are. You know, it's a simple game. This midfield, I suspect it's going to change. I do. I'm not against Zach. I'm not. He misplaced a few passes early on Saturday. He wasn't the worst player on the pitch, don't get me wrong. I don't think Jordan Clark comes out. I think that would be a bit stupid if Jordan Clark comes out after scoring and probably being the best outfield player on the pitch at Lincoln. That's not to say that I don't want him to continue to be better, even better than he was at Lincoln. I mean, he's the best player, but 3.5, 4 out of 10 rather than 1 and 1.5 out of 10, really, wasn't it? It wasn't anything other than that. I think Luton fans want to see Jake Richards. I think Luton fans probably want to see Fanny, but I suspect you'd see Richards before Fanny, even though Fanny was on the bench last Saturday. I think Richards is the X factor. Is that too strong a word? He is the...
He's the Exeter factor.
Well, he's definitely the Exeter factor. Good point. He's the difference maker then, that maybe Fanny might not be.
I don't understand why the two of them are not being trusted, to be honest, because all the talk of Fanny in pre-season, yes, he only played one game but scored 2 goals, and yes, it was brought on wood that he's going to come back and do really well. He showed that then. He got a concussion, missed most of the pre-season. Well, yeah, he may be behind, but again, we need changes. We need a fresh impetus. And Jake Richards has played 30 odd games for Exeter as a 17-year-old. He's now an 18-year-old. Put him in there. You know, he if not now, when? Because the players that are being picked ahead of him aren't doing the job. They're not cutting the mustard so far. And you've got to, if he wants to send out a strong message, not just to the fans as we've talked about with the formation, but to the squad to say, you know, if you're not doing the business, out you come, which is where we know he wants to be from his Wycombe team, because he had so many options to chop and change. Then that is one, isn't it? Put him in and see what he can do.
Yeah, I agree. Look, he's an exciting footballer, isn't he? And this is a team that isn't really playing exciting football at the minute. So, you know, my simple mind would tell me if you put an exciting footballer into a football team, it's likely to be a little bit more exciting than if you don't put an exciting footballer in. And I'm not saying that Zach Nelson's not exciting. I'm not saying that Jordan Clark's not exciting. But again, we're only talking about what we see with our own eyes. And Zach at Burton was really, really good. Richards at Barnet was against Barnet, sorry, was really, really good. And they played in that game, didn't they? They both played in that game. So they know each other. We're not going to have, well, they've never played together before or any of that cobblers. They have done. And they looked really, really good at doing it. And I think they've got the fearlessness of
yes,
youth.
Exactly. And are they going to be affected by a game that they didn't participate in to lose? No. So, you know, take that out. If we're talking about, and they were in the post-match after Lincoln, they were talking about confidence low, not doing the basics. Well, if they're not confident, remove them from the situation and let somebody else have a go. These are all of the things that can change. If we're talking about, the variables that are available here, there's no one particularly coming back from injury imminently that's going to affect this situation. But there are players here that aren't given a fair shake at the moment. Why?
Absolutely. Even before Lincoln, yeah, we were attacking with great statistics, but we weren't putting goals in. So even then, there was still the potential for changing. Okay, I know we were winning the odd game and everything else, but we have to change after Lincoln. Because if you don't change, then that will tell people that performance was okay. So you have to change, right? We have to make change. Even if we don't change the formation, players have to change for this game because you've got to put statements out, haven't you? And you can say statements and things like that, but you've got to visibly show a statement in the same way that he visibly showed Makosso that turning up for a team meeting's not turning up late's not good enough. You now got to show that performance ain't good enough. Now you've got to pick out the individuals within that performance that you didn't like, and that might take some doing actually, because none of them probably stood out for being bad because they were all bad. You know, the odd one, Keeley and Clark and Morris were the three that stood out as being better than those that were bad. But ultimately, this isn't a case of, well, you messed up last time, you go and put it right this time, because that would just send the wrong signal out for me.
Well, the word from Matt after the game was that it was unacceptable. So if you don't make changes, then it's not unacceptable, is it? It's acceptable. It becomes acceptable.
Because the theme of the last podcast, Jimbo, was how we've seen this movie last season. Well, when we saw this movie last season and Rob came out after the Norwich game and said all of these things were unacceptable, and although he didn't name Heath Chong and that terrible piece of defending for their second goal at Norwich, we all knew by what he was saying who he was talking about. Well, Heath Chong was on the bench for the following game and came on after half an hour or 45 minutes of it, and you're like, well, that's really shown him, hasn't it? You know, if it's unacceptable, then make it perfectly clear it's unacceptable. And we're presuming that Gideon Kadir is going to be okay in some way, shape or form for the bench on Saturday. So he'll come onto the bench. So whoever you're leaving out, you can leave out completely. So you don't need to fill the bench because Kadir is going to come on and fill one of those spaces on the bench. So you can actually make a strong statement. And I go back to the start of this podcast. Nathan would make strong statements. And it's time for that now because that's what people are missing. People are missing a manager that they believe will make the really tough decisions and stand by the conviction of their ways, which is what Nathan did do. The two since then, let's forget Graham Jones because that was just a mess from start to finish. The two since then have been a little bit nicey. I think people want now a strong decision to be made. And I'll go back to people and I'll say he did drop his captain ahead of the Burton game. And that's a strong decision 4 or 5 games into the season. So it's not like he can't do it. But people need to be reminded of it on Saturday. I think he needs to drop someone. I won't name names, that's for him to do. But there needs to be a strong announcement within that team selection that Saturday wasn't good enough. We could all see who the worst people on the pitch were.
No, I agree. And I also can't believe that after I said, can we stop talking about Nathan Jones, we talked about Nathan Jones twice. But listen, if you do want to make the analogy, you know, aside from all the passionate stuff and the mad stuff, he knew how to play to the crowd. You know, you can be a football man and you can be a tactician and stuff, but he knew the theatre of football, and that was part of it. So you do need to see those visible changes from the team sheet. And, you know, Matt he needs a win in every sense. He needs a win for himself to get the crowd on board with him.
Because we're half an hour into this podcast. This is a 3-game week. Now that the Blackpool game's been put in, and it's a big 3 games. Doncaster, tough game. Blackpool, league table wise, not as tough, but start of the season looked a much tougher game than Doncaster. And in Stevenage, I mean, there is no Luton manager that can go there and lose and live to tell the tale because it's a no-no. So it's a huge 3-game week, this. So if you can get off to the right start here, eases the pressure on them next 2. He's still going to have to win at Stevenage, but eases the pressure a little bit along the way. A draw at Blackpool won't get the doom and gloom descenders coming in and all of that. So it's big from that point of view. If we're playing a back 4, and me and Jimbo are picking a back 4, and we're playing a 6 and 2 8s, and we're playing 2 wingers, that only leaves 1 striker. Who is it?
was very tricky to pick that. If I'm going with the goals, and as you said, we need somebody that's going to be up there as a target man to beat the press that Doncaster clearly have statistically, it's got to be Nordos, isn't it?
Well, he's also the one that didn't cop as much of the negative performance on Saturday as others. It doesn't have to be. I thought Bode would looked all right, actually, when he come on at Lincoln on Saturday. I mean, again, we're lifting the bar up a little bit, but I thought it's the first time I've seen him. Obviously, I didn't see him against Plymouth. I like that he's got pace. I like that he's got power. I mean, he's the rawest of raw players, isn't he? But hey, so was Nordos when he arrived. I don't think he starts Bode. I think you're right. I think
I mean, he was ahead of him in the pecking order in terms of who came on at the weekend.
Yeah, this is all muddled. This is what I was saying in the last podcast. This is all confused messaging and muddled messaging. No one knows where the bloody hell they stand. You're ahead of me 1 minute. I'm ahead of you the next minute. Somehow he's come in from out of the blue and he's ahead of all of us in Fanny the next minute. No one knows where they stand, and maybe they don't know where they stand because none of them are performing particularly well enough. But somewhere along the line, someone's got to do it. I agree with you. I think it is Nordos. At least he's got goals in him. At least he's got some confidence in him. If it's not Nordos, if we're going to press them, then it's got to be Yates. I think Yates' press is slightly better than Wells, and I'm happy to go with that. So, but yeah, just a back four. Saville will be in front of them. I'm fine with that. Well, obviously, we know Ali, please be Morris, and the other three, I really don't care who they are. They could be, I don't. I just want to see that formation, and we've got enough players to play it. And
well, if it's going to change, then it has to change there, doesn't it? So the three would be. I don't think you drop Clark at the moment because he's putting it in, he's putting the passion.
Yeah, it's all just alongside him as an 8, isn't it?
Richardson, Fanny.
That will do us. That will do us nicely. We'll keep this one short and sweet because it was really bad on Saturday, wasn't it? So we'll keep this one nice and sweet because podcasts are coming thick and fast at you over the course of the next week or so. All that's left is the score predictions. Luton v Doncaster, how does it finish, Jimbo? 4-0 last time these two met at Kenilworth Road. Repeat?
Yeah, bloody well could be, but not in the way that we want it to be. Listen, my head and my heart are not aligned on this one. They're not and my heart's not particularly in a strong place with it. So my heart would say a draw, and my head would say, unfortunately, defeat. No, I don't want that, by the way, for the obvious reasons of what the ramifications of that could be, just for the feel of the club and the psyche of everything. But I think it could be. It could go that way, and so it's whether I go with my heart or my head. And at the moment, I think I have to go with my head. I think that they will lose 2-1.
Yeah, I think it's fair enough. It's fair enough, Jimbo. I'm not going for a Luton win either. And, it's unheard of, isn't it? This will be the second game on the trot. That will have been the case. And
in a way, what I've just said is reverse psychology for something without saying it, because set a low bar and maybe a pessimist is never disappointed.
Yeah, no, I went 2-2 at Lincoln, and I'll go 2-2 here. You mentioned it earlier in the podcast. They make as many mistakes as what we do, so that's going to take away the low scoring factor of the game, isn't it? So let's hope we can go and get a couple of goals. At least we got 2 last time we played at home, so if we can replicate that, 2-2. I really think this is a tough game. To be fair, I think it's a tough game regardless of the situation that Luton are in, but it's a tough game anyway. You've got to respect where they are in the league table. Okay, it's only 8 games, and we've said a few times that you don't take notice of the league table until 10 games, but 8 games, 10 games, what's 2 games between friends? They're there where they are on merit. They're playing good football. They can still lose games of football. They showed that on Saturday, and we need to show it this coming Saturday. But yeah, I don't see Luton winning games like this right now. I just don't. If Doncaster were 24th, I'd have no problems at saying we'll bounce back with a win, but they're not the second. And every team that we've played so far this season that have looked half decent have beaten us. And I don't think they'll beat us. Hopefully the tired legs come into play and we can get something out of the game. 2-2 draw or something like that. And we'll go from there. Listen, if you've got a ticket to the Kenilworth Road on Saturday, this club, this team, it's in a bad place. That's the one thing we could take from those interviews last Saturday, and they need our support. One thing that, as I said it towards the end of last season, the one thing that we don't need to be able to blame is the support of the supporters. So let's get right behind these boys from start to finish. Let's make Kenilworth Road the fortress that we know it can be. Let's pick up those 3 points. 3 points starts us on the road. It's a 3-game week. You never know. You beat Doncaster, you can then go and beat Blackpool, who are no great shakes right now. And then we've got that game against Stevenage where we all hope that we're going to win that one. Otherwise, well, local sort of people that work with Stevenage fans or in Hertfordshire will never hear the end of it until the return match, won't they? So get right behind the boys from start to finish. If it doesn't turn out in the way that we want it to, well, then of course you're well entitled to your reactions and things like that. But from start to finish, hopefully we're going to have some young players on that pitch on Saturday, Jimbo. They need our support, and the more support we can give them, because ultimately we're all going to Kenilworth Road wanting the same thing, and that is for Luton to win the game, isn't it? So the best chance of that happening is for us all to get right behind them, put everything, all of our anxieties, all of our frustrations and everything to one side, get behind the boys and give them the best chance of winning.
We do, because already, I've seen, immediately from the reaction of the weekend, and maybe it's just that reaction is, raw and the outbursts are extreme, but there does seem from certain people a level of predetermination about this being something where it turns toxic. Now, I think we're in a catch-22 with this scenario, because there's a school of thought that says you're entitled to your views, and that is true, but how you express them is perhaps the key here, because if you've got a squad full of younger players, largely, and a squad full of supposedly or so-called unconfident players, will it serve them to get the results that you want to make you feel happy about your football club by berating them and booing them and all that sort of stuff? So it's a really difficult one for everyone to manage, particularly for the fans. Now, if I've said before, I'm not a man that would boo my own team. I would leave and not clap them. I think that's right. I don't understand that part of it. But I think there's a very delicate balance to be had here. If you want to be enjoying your football of a weekend, do you have to be as supportive as possible? That doesn't mean happy clapping, but it doesn't mean turn into the toxicity that I have heard and seen about, which is almost having it in your mind that if somebody places a pass wrong, if somebody does something wrong, then we're going to get on them. I can't, I've never got behind that. And I think that that's something that people are going to have to wrestle with for this, and maybe this season as well, because you talked about at the top of this, turning this tanker around. That needs everybody to help. So.
Yeah, it does. Look, they're coming here to beat us, Doncaster, and they're, from what the league table tells us, they're potentially perfectly capable of doing it. Let's not beat ourselves. Not in the stands anyway. Let's get behind these boys. And if they do lose, well, no one can throw an accusation, well, the fans haven't helped matters or anything like that. I don't know if they will or not, but you can take away that situation there and then and just get behind them. And if you do need to vent your frustrations, of course, we're all frustrated. Listen, there's pubs open after the game. Our YouTube comments are open. I'll do an instant reaction, put all of your negative comments and stuff on there, and that's absolutely fine. But from minute 1 to minute 90, let's get behind these boys and let's see if we can start to turn this ship around together and get 3 points that will at least get us away from dropping into the bottom half of the table, which if we don't win the game, we're almost certain to do. So, yep, so let's go from there. Jimbo's gone back to being negative Norman again, 2-1 defeat, 2-2 for me. I'm not exactly much more positive either. Get your predictions in for this one, and as always, if you're right, we'll give you a shout out in the review, which will be out usual time next week. Podcasts are coming at you thick and fast, but the review of this game will be out at the usual time. Thanks for your support and everything else, however it is that you've consumed this podcast, whether you've watched it or whether you've listened to it. We really, really do appreciate all of the support that we're getting at the moment. We know times are tough. We know this is a tricky time to be a Luton fan, a tough time to be a Luton fan, but we'll be here fronting up each and every time that we play a game of football.
And we want to be here talking good things, to be honest. It's a challenge coming in. I mean, nobody's twisting their arm or anything. I'm not getting the little violin out, but we do. It's much easier to talk about positivity.
It'd be lovely to talk about a win, wouldn't it? Yeah, let's get behind the boys and let's hope that they do that. Thanks to all of the folks at Marsh House, the proud new home of the Luton Town Supporters Trust podcast, and to Sean Grant and the Wolfgang for our intro music. Till next time, which will be a review of what we hope will be 3 points against Doncaster Rovers. From Jimbo and myself, come on, you Hatters, give us something to get behind, please.